Hey guys, welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette Mashila, and of course, I am your fabulous host teaching you all things personal finance management. And I'm really keen on the next conversation that we're going to be having because I've brought an all-time favorite. Her name is Salem Nyati. I said it right for the first time in my life because I usually say Salem, and her name is not Salem. It is Salem Nyati, and big advocate for credit education in South Africa. I think it's often very rare to find somebody who really sinks their teeth into something, but not for personal gain and personal benefit, but rather for the interest of people. So Salem, welcome to the Financial Bunny TV.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. I'm so excited to be here with you.
We're absolutely happy that you've made the time to be with us today. And I'll tell you why. There's a real pandemic that's going on in South Africa. And I think a lot of us don't realize it because a lot of stuff, especially when we talk about debt, it's almost a personal relationship that people have, right?
Yeah.
And there's a stigma around it. There is shame that is put around it. So a lot of people are going about managing their debt feeling lost, alone, and isolated, right?
Yeah. And also, people also feel that the people who reach out sort of for help or to give their information, it's almost like they feel judged. They feel like, ooh, they're going to know these deep, intricate, shameful details about my life.
Yes.
But actually, that's where the real problem is how you feel about it.
Absolutely.
That makes people not come forward and actually be open to the help.
We should actually just start a debt podcast, but we'll talk about that. I said to her, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we want to do. I think today's episode is really to focus on the prescription law, right? And if to put it plainly, there is an act in South Africa, a law, a piece of law that allows for you to stop being legally obligated to pay for your debt. Now, I must say this with a lot of caution because when I said to Salem, that I want you to come and have a conversation with me, I said, people are choosing to abscond their debts. And she was like, what? Abscond your debt?
Well, you know what? They're calling it laying low.
Oh,
literally.
Quite quitting.
Yeah, literally laying low. But you know what the danger is, Nicolette? It's that you lay low and then 32 months later, they come for you.
Absolutely.
But like your interests are this high.
Yes.
And I mean, you've been deliberately lying low. And when it comes rightfully so. And then you're liable.
So let's take a couple of steps back because I think first let's explain what prescription is.
Okay.
So what happens when we say a debt is prescribing?
Okay, and I'll maybe start it from why the law
was created.
Yes. Back in the days, credit providers would, let's say you default on a payment, on a debt. So credit providers would wait it out.
Yes.
While they are accumulating interest. Now, what you originally owed 2,000 rands for, 10 years later, here comes this letter of demand, you now owe 36,000 rands. And because they've literally let it stay there, simmer, and gather interest.
Yeah.
And so the Prescription Act was then created to say, and this is how it works. You cannot collect on a debt that you've been silent about for 3 years.
Yes.
So it means that in 3 years, if the credit provider has not contacted you regarding the debt, you as the consumer have not made a payment
plan. Yeah.
So from the last time you made a payment, you count 3 years.
Yes.
So 36 months. And then they have not taken you to court for this debt within this 3 years.
So no legal
proceedings.
Yes.
And you as the consumer have also not sort of bothered them and acknowledged this debt. So there's like total silence.
For 3 years. From both sides.
From both sides
Yes.
about this debt. And now total silence doesn't mean that you changed your phone number.
Yes.
And they're trying to get hold of you, but they can't.
Yes.
It's the last details, the last contact details that they know of you, but they have not
stayed the same.
Yes. They have not contacted you. So silent, 3 years, no legal action, no acknowledgement of debt, then that debt prescribes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what does it mean then legally for you
It
after
means
that?
you are no longer liable to pay
Yes.
that debt. It also means that you cannot be listed negatively in the
Because of
credit
that debt.
bureaus because of the debt. You can't be listed negatively by the company where, let's say, you borrowed the money or you took furniture, clothing, whatever the case may be, or their debt collectors even.
Okay, and
So-
that's a key component.
Yes.
Because often they'll say it's been handed over.
Yes. So
yes.
anything linking to that debt cannot then negatively affect you
Yes.
after 3 years. So they can't, and I'm going to use a common term, they cannot blacklist
List
you
Yes.
in the credit bureau. And that means any information pertaining to the traces
Yes.
of that debt, it cannot show in the credit bureau. Why do I say traces? Because there's a blacklisting, a
Yes.
negative listing,
Yes.
hold the default.
Yes.
Then there is a payment profile or account history where they've been reporting paying,
Yes.
paying.
Yes.
Oh,
Missed.
skipping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, short paid.
Yes.
Eventually, non-payment.
Non-payment. Yes.
Because that information is sort of like a behavioral report.
Yeah. No,
every
definitely.
month.
Definitely.
You know? So even that
has to be taken away.
has to be removed. It cannot show.
I like that. I like the idea that everything about that date gets removed. So basically, it's almost like you never had the date in the first place.
Correct.
But let's be careful, I think, because then in South Africa, we all make an assumption that all dates are equal, right? So the 3 years we're speaking about is specifically for retail accounts.
Correct. It's specifically for credit agreement. So, for example, your bond, it doesn't prescribe after 3 years.
Yes.
That one, Bantu Bakuti, is 30.
30 years.
Yes.
Also because they've given you a loan for sometimes 20 years. It can't wait until, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And I mean, the amounts are big as well.
Absolutely.
And also things like your municipal debt, you know, like
government.
Yes. So those are 30 years to prescribe. And I mean, for people who generally understand the law,
yes,
there's a whole lot of prescription laws out there.
Yes.
Even for like criminal cases and whatnot.
Absolutely, yes.
It is to say, don't be silent about something for so long and then want to, you know, sort of start collecting, but also then start wanting to add fees and fees and fees for all the time you have chosen to be quiet about it.
But I guess, and also the thing about the law is quite flexible. Yes, it might be different to change, but it's flexible. I mean, if you look at America, speaking about, criminal, they've got what they had, the Megan's Law. What's it called, Megan's Law? Where sexual assaults that even happen.
Yes.
And there's a reason why I bring this up is because I like what you say about you can lay low, right? For 2.5 years.
Correct.
And then there's a big shy
Boom.
guy. Or you could lay low for that 2 years and then the law changes. That there's no longer prescription.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
And that's why when I say to Salem, that people want to abscond their fee, their dates, she laughed at it because it's actually not in your interest as an individual to do that.
It's absolutely not, Nicolette. You basically saying, without even realizing that it's okay, bring the interests on.
Yes, you're a deadbeat.
Yeah. Bring the interests on. I'll pay it when you really demand it.
Yes.
You don't want that because the implications. Look, shifting it a little bit.
Yeah.
The unemployment rate in South Africa is quite high. Now, if you're going to be so reckless when it comes to your credit, to a point now when a simple debt that has now accumulated finds you at a point where you really cannot pay it.
Yes.
You're looking for a job.
Yes. And
you are a good candidate for a particular job. But hey, your credit record is now that stumbling block. It's really reckless to think like that.
I've actually never thought about it that way because, I mean, I look at the biggest employers in South Africa in terms of industries, financial services.
Correct.
And it's retail. And in both cases, they check your credit profile because nobody wants to hire somebody who doesn't honor their credit agreements.
Yeah, they call it trust.
Yes.
They use the word trust. They say, we are hiring you in a position of trust.
Yes.
Imagine you are working as a cashier and you have all this debt, because debt can be strenuous.
Absolutely.
Now you've got this debt, you're working with this cash. You're going to start being
Temptation.
creative.
Yeah. I love the way you say
around
creative.
the money.
I love how she says creative. Not you're going to steal. You're going to be creative about it.
So you don't want to play such reckless games.
Yeah.
Laying low for prescription is such a reckless game to play.
Absolutely. Now, there's something else you also mentioned, and I guess let's talk a little bit about. Let's say there is the instance, because the responsibility lies on both sides, right? And human nature is that if you owe someone, you stop paying them, they don't say anything, the chances of you reaching out to them is very, very unlikely, right? So then the credit provider has the responsibility to come and knock and say, "Ungakhohlwa le parcela. You owe us," right? And if they don't do that and they decide to just keep quiet, you're well within your rights to allow a date then to prescribe, because it would have gone past the prescription period.
Yeah.
Right. What happens if you disturb it? What instances would you be disturbing a prescription period?
Let me tell you what actually happens out there.
Okay.
Sometimes you can let the 3 years pass.
Yes.
Right? I like to call it the resurrection of dead debt.
Okay. Yeah, resurrecta.
Yeah, because what happens is they'll call you.
Yeah.
Maybe this is month 42.
Yes.
Or whatever, after the 3 years.
Yes.
And they'll sort of remind you of the debt.
Yes.
And I mean, as consumers, we don't really keep record of how long, because we're not really that close.
Yeah, how much
to
time
our
has
finances.
passed. Yes.
And you're like, oh yeah,
Bonje.
I remember. Acknowledgement of debt.
Oof.
First mistake that you're doing.
Oof.
You're now acknowledging that debt.
Oof.
You're now interrupting it, or you are resurrecting that debt. Then they further say to you, even if you pay a minimum of 100 rands a month, what do? You start making payments. And when you do that, that prescription law no longer applies until a fresh new 3-year period starts. So we start with a simple, innocent, oh yes, I remember.
But is that not a trickery though? Because what would then be the appropriate response?
The appropriate response would be to boldly say, that debt has prescribed.
Finished.
The debt has prescribed. That's it. There is no other way around it. Yes, some people, because they don't understand the term prescription, they would say something like, oh no, that's too old.
Yes.
That debt is too old. Oh no, you have no right to, demand this
payment,
money for me, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But something along those lines.
Or they'll say, when awunazikweleti.
Yes, or the old, it's not me.
Yes, the straight up denial.
I'm dim.
Straight up denial.
Yes. But what we do is we then say, oh yes, ngiyakumbula. I remember. But also remember, Nicolette, when you are the credit provider, you want your money.
Of course. Yes.
You want your money, you want to collect. And what happens out there is that credit providers sell their debtors' books to debt collectors. And the debt collector has bought the book. So they're going to collect on that.
And they're aggressive.
They are aggressive, and they're going to use trickery to get that money. And that's why consumers need to be informed, need to be aware what their rights are, because many times we pay monies we are no longer liable to be paying.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about they've given you the call. You've acknowledged it, but you don't agree to a prepayment. Is that prescription is that date resurrected?
Definitely. The fact that you've acknowledged, so you can do either or. You can acknowledge it, you've interrupted it. Or you make a payment, you've interrupted it. In fact, once you acknowledge it, they can proceed with legal actions.
So what happens though if you do, if they call you, but don't inform you that the call is recorded? And then you find yourself in a situation where they're like, "Yayikhumbula." Now uthi yebo ndiyayikhumbula. Then they want to use that. But the call was not recorded and you were not. I'm just trying to understand from a peer perspective in South Africa. We got a whole lot of laws in South Africa that are just a bit, so they're just hanging there in jail.
Nicolette, a lot of times people use systems where they enter call logs into their system.
So we did call you, we got hold of
you. Yes, we called you on this number, on this time, and it's call logs. That thing can be proven, whether it's their recording system or something else, but it can be proven. And when they need to prove it in the court of law,
they can subpoena anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So the bottom line is, once you acknowledge it, you have in essence agreed to paying that debt.
So what happens in an instance where they did try to get hold of you and you've changed your number, you've changed bank accounts, you have changed email addresses.
Hey, wait, you are not in the province.
We are ducking and diving. What recourse does the credit provider then have?
Let me tell you this very scary thing that how far the credit providers can go. First of all, prescription then does not apply.
Yes.
It's an ongoing...
So we've been trying to get hold of you. So you can't say prescription has started.
Yes.
Okay.
They can actually track where you work.
Oh, Jesus. Yo.
Ndiyaiva
sana. And because SARS will tell them.
They track where you work. Then they start taking actions against you, legal actions, take out a judgment, and then
please don't say that word.
Yes. And I'm going to say it, the famous word.
Yeah.
Garnishi order.
Yeah.
Now, nobody's negotiating with you now.
Yeah. We're going to fetch
the money. They are taking now. Because remember, it's an attachment order.
Yes.
Against your salary. So they are taking it.
Do you know which instances I really enjoy garnishi orders, and as horrible as this sounds? Maintenance. Because why don't you want to maintain your children?
Yeah.
I was actually having that conversation before you stepped in to say, I was speaking to a gentleman asking him, what is the reason for single mothers? It should not happen,
Yeah.
But worse off is you're choosing not to be with the mother of your child. I can accept that.
Yeah.
It's okay. But we must force you now to support umntana wakho.
Ewe.
So I like garnishi orders when it comes to maintenance. And I guess also maintenance does not prescribe within 3 years, please. Our maintenance order is because it's kweletiles.
Yes. Yeah, no, look, and that one, it's a different case altogether.
Absolutely.
And you see the trick with garnishi order as well is, especially now on that topic, they can actually sort of do a payback.
Oof.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oof.
And it goes back to what we're saying, Nicolette. The attitude of laying low is a reckless one.
Yeah, it definitely
You're
is.
really playing with fire when you're saying, I'm going to lay low and sort of hope it disappears.
Yeah.
It does work for some people.
No, it's not worth it.
Right?
Yeah.
But let me tell you, many times people have been in a situation where on month 35, the credit provider has aggressively collected because they're also looking at their aging.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got a system that flags the aging.
Say, we are 1 month away from prescription.
So we need to jump.
We need to jump.
Yeah.
So we can't recklessly think credit providers are asleep.
Yes.
To this.
Yes.
It really, really is such a careless mentality.
And let's talk about the immediate effect that you're going to feel. You default on the first month. what is the immediate feeling? Let's say there is no actual credit, there's no legal proceedings from credit provider. But I'm assuming that if you go after 3 months after defaulting, you're going to feel the effect of it because you might get declined.
Yeah, so you mean like a normal credit agreement?
Yeah, so let's say it's Nicolette. I've now skipped on my home loan and the bank hasn't said anything. Next month, I'm trying to apply for. So what are the immediate effects of absconding?
Firstly, let's talk about the fact that if you struggled to pay one installment, how heavy is it going to sit on you when you have to pay three installments all at one go?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's the arrears amount.
Yes.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, people find themselves having to take out a smaller loan
here and there.
You know?
And Peter to pay Paul.
Yes, and that's how you end up in a bad debt cycle. Do you understand what I'm saying? You literally have now picked up the shovel. You are now starting to dig.
For yourself.
Yes, that's what you are doing now. But also, here's the thing, Nicolette. Now, let's say you skip 1 month, okay? You've now started to default, and then you sober up very quickly. You don't pay double the next month, but you decide, you know what? I'm going to pay this thing every single month. But there's that 1 month
that's pushing
that you
things.
did not pay.
Yes.
On your credit profile, that behavior, that 1 month that you skip, each and every single month is going to follow you to say, up to this date,
you were fine.
You have, from last year, October, you have always been 1 month in arrears because you still have not made up
for it.
It's like an ex with a grudge.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's an ex with a grudge. However, it's so funny how the financial system is not kind and lenient. But Tina, if he doesn't text, you give him another chance.
Yeah.
So he can text again and again.
So you don't want to play. This is a contractual agreement, guys.
Yes.
You signed a contract.
Yes.
You said, you under oath even, if you want to put it that way.
Absolutely, it is.
You signed a contractual agreement. That is no place to play.
Yeah.
So
that's why I tell people all the time, like, credit education is such an important thing in South Africa that because people, we just sign. I need 10,000 now. There's a personal loan that, and I guess maybe with technology and technological advancement, it's even getting worse because you can literally get a loan from sitting with your laptop like this. No other people around you.
Do you know why we just sign? In our heads, we are saying, my signature
is enough. It's
guarantees the money.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you're thinking about.
Yeah.
We don't even count up the costs, Nicolette, to say, I could have saved up for this thing for 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And paid so much. But now I'm taking it on credit. I'm going to pay for 10 months, but I'm going to pay 3 times more. We are not even thinking in that direction.
No, it's 10,000 divided by 10 months. It's 1,000 rand in our heads. That's how we do the mathematics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't count up the costs.
Yeah.
All we are thinking is, my signature guarantees this money. The person sitting across me or the screen said, in 2 hours,
I will get
the money will be in my bank account and I need to follow the steps. That is how far we think as far as credit is concerned. Very reckless.
So before we finish off our conversation, what can a person do if they can feel that this month, because sometimes it's not a seeing thing, you can feel that like, this month I'm not going to make it, not going to be able to pay, what can they do?
Immediately get on email, get on writing with your credit provider. Immediately get on writing and say, so you either know that it's going to be this month or it's this month going forward. You state your situation and you ask that we rearrange my payment plan.
Yes.
You know?
So honesty.
be honest. Say, you know what?
Communication.
We have just welcomed twins
Yes.
in our home.
Unexpected.
And unfortunately, my husband has just lost his job. Therefore, the installment of 4,800 rands, I can no longer afford it.
Yeah.
I can do 1.6.
Yes.
Can we please either extend my credit agreement by a year, whatever the case may be? I am not running away from the debt, because what makes credit providers panic is when they think that consumers are running away.
Absconding.
Yes. So you say, I'm not running away from the debt. All I need is that we just rearrange things so that I can still be able to make the payments, to honor the agreement.
That's quite true, because I actually did that. There was a month where cash flow was so difficult, but I didn't even need to go on an email. I just literally went into an app, my West Bank app, and I was able to do it. One last question before I let you go, Salem. Salem. So now I have defaulted.
Yeah.
Right? After the default, what are you suggesting I do?
You've got two options. Okay, you've defaulted now. A default generally stays on your credit profile for 1 year.
Okay.
You have a choice to, let's say, you need this thing off.
Yes.
As in yesterday.
Yes.
You pay it off, or you go to the credit provider and have a payment arrangement, not a payment arrangement, a settlement agreement.
Okay.
Let's say you owe 36,000 rands. You go to the credit provider and you say, I have 28,000 rands.
Can we
shake hands?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They generally take that. Okay? Then you have a settlement agreement, you pay it. After you've paid it, make sure you send the paid up letter to the credit bureau. Give them 7 to 21 days.
Yes.
And then it'll come off your name. The second thing, you don't have the money. I can tell you now, after 1 year, that default will come off your name automatically from the credit bureau.
Okay.
Because nothing stays forever. Absolutely nothing. Ungazibulali mntana sekhaya. Nothing stays forever in the credit bureaus.
I love that. And on that note, we're going to leave it there with Salem Anyati. As I say, she's an advocate for really getting South Africans educated in terms of their credit rights. I think it's important to really be well aware of what are your rights, but also your responsibilities. Please do remember, none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are, however, looking for that financial advice, do speak to somebody who's certified and registered with the FSCA. And if you are looking for debt advice and debt help, a registered debt counselor. Registered, not them telling you they are registered. Go and check on the National Credit Regulator. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much for tuning in.